something like that. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Zach Hval, singer, songwriter, guitar player extraordinaire, and today, or night, whenever you're watching this, we are talking about improvising worship leads on the electric guitar. It's an interesting concept. You usually don't hear praise and worship music and think improvisation. But hey, that's what we're here to kind of talk about. So some things to keep in mind. This is kind of really just serves as like a lot of things I teach here on the channel, is really just to provide you a springboard to kind of jump off of. You can't really teach improvisation. You kind of just have to go out there and get it done. So really all I can do as a teacher is kind of help point you in the right direction, maybe give you some tools. This would also be for songs that either don't have like a solid electric guitar part, like a lead line or anything like that. Or if you're like me sometimes and hear it and you're like, that's not exactly inspiring to me. And so you can kind of have these tools in your tool belt to kind of create your own worship guitar lead lines. You know, as long as you're having fun and you're worshiping the Lord, you can't go wrong with any of this stuff. So if you tuned into this expecting like a blues guitar lesson or something like that, I'm sorry. I am speaking solely to my church guitar folks. So with that out of the way, we will... actually, one more thing I wanted to disclose. So I'm kind of using the song Worthy of It All by the Worship Initiative as kind of my... for the backing tracks there. It's in the key of C, so everything I'm teaching here will be in the key of C, but of course, what I'm teaching fundamentally will map over to any key and any situation. A lot of the stuff I'm going to probably do, I don't know because it's going to be improvised, will work if you're the only electric guitar player, or if there's a couple of electric guitar players. This will kind of help you find your little spot to fit in within a mix, and it'll sound really doggone good. So with that in mind, we're just kind of looking at not so much the verse. I don't really improvise over verses too much. I mean, there's nothing, either I'll just try to hang back and let the vocalists do their thing. That seems to be, at least I'm thinking, more contemporary worship, worship within the last, like, let's say 8 years or so. So I kind of just let them do their thing. If anything, I am going to be playing the melody over a verse to the song. So to kind of, unless, again, if it's getting in the way of like a keyboardist or something like that, or flute or something like that, I don't want to do that. But usually I'm just playing the melody of the verse. So we're focusing on choruses and bridges today. So with that out of the way, we will zoom in. I'll show you a couple of things over Worthy of It All. I'll give you some chords so that you kind of know what the harmony is that I'm playing over or with. So we'll zoom in and check it out. Okay, here we are, all nice and zoomed in, and we're ready to break it down. Worship style, again, Worthy of It All, key of C. As I mentioned at the top of this video, verses and things like that, I typically am either playing nothing, which is a valid strategy, or I'm playing the melody, or I'm doing like swelly swell stuff, which this guitar is not the best to demonstrate that. But yeah, so I mean, there's a piano line in there in the song that is kind of doing that. You can kind of have that going in the background, either doubling the keys, doing your own thing if there are no keys, or you're just playing the verse chords. But choruses and bridges are what we are focusing on today, because at least with contemporary worship music, it seems that's where a lot of the dynamics seem to build, and musically things get kind of intense, I suppose. So that, and Worthy of It All, the original song, again by Worship Initiative, please don't sue me, there is like a down chorus, and the chorus chords are really just C. Let me turn off that very distracting at sometimes delay. It's just C, G, F, G, C, something like that. And so I kind of like to tease the melody at parts like that. Got a little bit sloppy there, but that sometimes happens when you're improvising. In the heat of battle, ladies and gentlemen, if I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times, anything can happen. Be on guard. It's improvisation. One of the cool things about improv is that you're kind of free to make mistakes. You know, as Eddie Van Halen once says, if you make a mistake while playing, smile and do it again. That way everybody thinks you did it on purpose. Good advice. Who knew he was so full of wisdom? In any case, we're focusing on, I'm turning my delay back on, bigger choruses, and so there is a bigger one. Now I will say, if you know this song, then you know that there is technically a lead line to this. I just really like this song, doggone it, and my church hasn't done it in a while, so here I am in my room teaching you how to improvise over it. In any case, chorus chords are again just C, F, and G, very basic. It can feel kind of limiting, but what I'm about to show you is that you can that's actually a benefit to you. So I'm kind of focusing here on this C chord up at the, the root is on the 15th fret, so we're looking at frets 12, 13, 14, and 15. And we're breaking it down to kind of the essentials. So I'm really focusing on this top half, the G at the 12th fret, the C at the 13th fret, and then that high G, the octave, at the 15th fret. Because it just sounds so pretty, at least in this setup. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to play around that bigger chorus and see what kind of ideas we can come up with. I can tell you, just knowing myself as a guitar player, I'm probably going to sneak the melody in there. So we'll see. Lots of cool things kind of happen there. So let's kind of break this down. I am, again, focusing on really just that C chord shape here at the top of 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th fret. There's this kind of idea that, I don't know, it kind of just, when I play this chord, it does show up a lot in, although I prefer it with that 5th on the top there, the G note. I mean, the trick to a lot of improvisation is to always resolve, have some type of resolution. I choose to give in worship music, because it is basically just pop music, and a lot of contemporary music resolves to the one, the tonic of the one chord, which is C. Hopefully, if this terminology is confusing you, improvisation and things like that might not be for you. You might want to hold off on that and work a little bit more on, your music theory and things like that. And I'll say having a bass line, because this is real basic music theory that I'm talking about. So it might be a little bit more tricky to practice these things and learn these things if you're not familiar with them, is what I'm trying to say. Not to shame anybody. In any case, I'm just focusing on these shapes, and I also went over to this F chord here. And again, that's just, here's your F at the 10th fret, just below it, and A, and C here at the 8th fret. A lot of improvisation, I'll tell you right now, is really the three keys to it are just being, having a good time. If you can't keep time, which you've seen me boo-boo a couple times here so far, because I'm, improvising. But if you can't loosely keep time, I guess is what I'm trying to say, that's going to be a problem. I mean, mistakes happen, but if you can't consistently keep time, I guess. And if you know the notes of the fretboard, it will really save you a lot of trouble. And then being familiar with these triads. There's a reason why every guitar teacher ever focuses on learning arpeggios and triads. They have saved me countless times, both in the worship guitar setting, the blues guitar setting, what have you. So learning them, learning your notes all up and down the neck will help you at least be able to kind of think and, and eventually this stuff becomes second nature and improvisation becomes more natural. But one thing I kind of wanted to focus on, so that's one option there. I do like to focus on, I like to blend chordal stuff into my leads. I don't know why. It's just how I am. I can't think of a guitar player off the top of my head right now that I got that from. Probably Eric Johnson. Jimi Hendrix does it too. Guys like that. But this little motif here of that B to C to G is kind of really the hook of that, and then bringing in that melody every so often. Really, you could just do that the whole time. So I'll show you what I mean. Let's see what happens with that. If I just focus, or try to, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to bring in other chord tones, but just focusing on that over that chord progression will sound good. That was all improvised. I wasn't really thinking about what I was doing. I was just listening for the chord changes and kind of following them and, playing through them. So again, you could really just stick to that over any of those chord changes. Folks, I really did try to just keep to that the whole time. But when it gets to that F chord, I really like to walk. And then just that A to that high F. Really pretty interval. In any case, that would cover the chorus there. So that low chorus, maybe just power chords is really what these were. You can, I'll leave it up to you for that low chorus, but those big swinging choruses, you could even just play the melody over that if you wanted to, improvisation. Don't get too mechanical with it, but these are just ideas. My hope is that you hear something and think, well, I don't necessarily want to do that, but I may want to do this. And then come up with your own thing, Let the spirit guide you, if you will. Okay, bridges. We're moving on to the bridge now. So this is where, at least on this song, it gets heavy, daddy. So the bridge chords to this song, Worthy of It All in the Key of C, are just C, E minor, A minor, F. Well, technically it's C over G, but we'll say C, G, D minor 7, although I'm thinking more D minor in this particular case, and then F. And then does two of those bridges there, coming back into a nice big chorus. Of course, your arrangement will depend heavily on your worship pastor. I'm just going off the default arrangement here for matters of teaching. I'm going to turn on a little bit of that. Whoops. Gets a little nasty with these lipstick pickups there, but I have a tube screamer, the good old Ibanez tube screamer. I am diming my amp, of course. I'm actually using my worship setup here, and my amp for that is the Strymon Iridium. Have it set to the round setting, and I just dime the whole thing. Everything except the mids, just treble and bass. And full volume, so that it breaks up. And then, of course, the Tube Screamer just pushes everything over the edge, and wow, it'll signal the return of our Lord for sure. Okay, over that bridge, there's a couple of things I like to do. Again, we're focusing mostly on just one string. A lot of worship guitar seems to be based off one or two strings. You know, we're not getting crazy and doing like tappy taps and all sorts of fun arpeggios and things like that. We're keeping it simple. I like to build. I like to pick things that are diatonic. Again, that just means it belongs to the key. So I'm thinking full scale, not so much pentatonically. And so one of the things I seem to do with a lot of songs is start on the root, which is C, incidentally first chord in the bridge, and then I'll maybe I won't have the Tube Screamer on for that, but you know, because there's that, it gets kind of, you can bring tension and release to that. I think I'll just play a little bit of that bridge and show you what I mean. Something like that. See how I was kind of just picking my notes somewhat carefully there. Some of them were a little bit Catholic, as I like to say, you know, where it's like anyways, it was gospel. There we go. We're having fun today. Okay. So I'm just focusing on, honestly, going up the major scale is a valid for most of these progressions there. Just going up the major scale. So I started on that C, really picking eighth notes. So I'm going C, D, E, up to that high G. Reason being is because that's like where the vocal part goes. It's day and night, night and day, let incense rise. And hitting that high G note is kind of really what it comes down to. Things do get a little tricky when that D minor 7 comes in there. The 2 chord in the key of C, for those of you keeping watch at home. You can just kind of hang out there. You can hang out on the F. Again, chord tones. You can go up to the A if you wanted to. I just like to keep things nice and simple. So the idea, I guess, behind something like that, especially going from that C to that B, is one, it's going to the 7th, so it builds tension, and then it kind of resolves when you get to that E minor, because that is the 5th of the E minor chord. And sometimes I like to jump. I mean, it's a bit of a jump to go from that to here to do that whole E minor arpeggio, and by that point, the song is already moving. So, I mean, things to keep in mind, you know, it doesn't have to be super complex. So, I mean, I guess I'll just do what I did before in the previous section and kind of see what kind of ideas I can come up with following that similar kind of structure. Here we go. Now that is the secret chord that pleased the Lord. Again, just thinking about chord tones, things like that, and then also trying to keep time. And it builds, and it builds, and then you go back into your chorus, and then we've got that thing that we kind of improvised around and played with a little bit. But really with bridges, when you're improvising in worship, if you think chord, chord tones are always a good choice, but at least think notes within the scale. Because like when I'm playing over that F to end over that last line in the bridge, I'm playing a G note there and just committing to it. So there's that tension there that we love so much between the fourth and the fifth of the scale. So I hope this kind of gives you an idea, some things to sort of play with. If only King David had that type of hardware. Am I right or am I right? That is improvising in a worship guitar, electric guitar setting. I hope you got some value out of this. Thank you so much for tuning in. It really does mean the most. I hope that you will consider subscribing to the YouTube channel for more content like this. And of course, following the links down in the description box below to follow me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, all that fun stuff. You can also find links to my own music, my own musical compositions down there. I would also hope that you would consider sticking around here for Musical Hangout, the live music experience of our generation, each and every Tuesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific time. I think that's all that I wanted to say for this video, but thank you so much again for watching. I've been Zach Hval, singer, songwriter, guitar player extraordinaire, signing off, reminding you that if Adam and Eve were Cajuns, they would just have eaten the snake and saved us a whole lot of trouble. Bread is bread, cheese is cheese, praise God. Hey-ya!
Hallelujah! Hallelujah!